Chapter 102. Little Gold Sleeping. After pacifying Wang Ting, Li Chongjia walked out of the house to a secluded courtyard. "What's going on? Do you know?" In the darkness, Li Chongjia muttered to himself, "If outsiders were here, they would definitely think that he was crazy." But at this moment, an old voice came from Li Chongjia's heart. "Kid, this voice is coming from thousands of miles away. This person's strength is invincible, more powerful than the old man in his heyday. You could ask tomorrow what big things may have happened in the Great Tang Kingdom." Li Chongjia was shocked at the words. It came from 1,000 miles away. This sentence alone let him know that the voice owner's strength was terrifying. What shocked him even more was that the person inside him had admitted that he was unbeatable. This world is not only Kangchon, one person has a strange encounter. Li Chongjia, the imperial capital, also had a strange encounter. He found a residual soul, the Li family spirit ****** cultivation. It is this person in the body. After both sides through the understanding, Li Chongjia learned that this residual soul is a loose devil. Only later did not cross the thunderbolt, was split into serious injuries, and finally only a trace of the residual soul strayed into the spirit cave of the Li family to cultivate. Until Li Chongjia entered the spirit cave to cultivate that time, the residual soul was awakened by the noise of his cultivation, and the two sides thus became acquainted. Under the temptation of the residual soul, Li Chongjia worshipped him as a teacher. From then on, the cultivation by leaps and bounds, and now has reached the 9th floor of the foundation, the realm of the 9 revolutions. At any time can be formed into the 9 revolutions of the Golden Dawn. And all this, the Li family did not have a person know. Li Chongjia hidden very deep. And there is a remnant of the secret method taught by the soul. Others cannot find his real cultivation. Kid, it's not a solution for your cultivation to continue to be so suppressed. It's best to find an opportunity to hurry up and break through the Jindan stage. Otherwise you won't be able to cultivate the old man's later techniques." The voice of the remnant soul came out. Li Chongjia nodded at his words and said, "I'll go out for training after a while, and then I'll break through the Jindan stage at that time. However, you asked me to worship the Heavenly Tao sect, so aren't you afraid of being discovered by the Heavenly Tao sect if you cultivate your demonic skills? The magic skill that I passed on to you is naturally non-trivial. If it was so easily discovered, I would be deluded to call myself a loose devil. Moreover, you have already cultivated the first part of Lao Fu's demonic skill, so you naturally know how powerful this demonic skill is. Can you afford not to cultivate it?" The remnant soul proudly said. Li Chongjia instantly fell silent. This magic skill was indeed powerful. Otherwise, how could it allow him to progress so much in just a short period of time? Of course, there was also the reason why the Li family had cultivated him vigorously, with all sorts of pills at his disposal. While the imperial capital was in an uproar because of the voice of the goddess, the distant heavy iron city was similarly experiencing a vision. In the underground cave in the back of the royal palace, the red eyes of the fire drought demon lying in the blood coffin opened, and at once an evil aura emanated from the blood coffin, eventually spreading to the entire back of the royal palace. This back mountain, which had been burnt bare by the fire, had begun to grow a seedling after the baptism of the thunderbolt. But at this moment, these seedlings began to slowly wither, and in the end, the entire back mountain was completely devoid of life. However, at this moment, the residents of Heavy Iron City were being shocked by the voice of the goddess that had suddenly appeared, and they didn't notice the abnormalities in the back of the mountain of the royal mansion. In fact, after Kangchon and the others left Heavy Iron City, the back mountain of the royal mansion was already less frequented. What's going on? This soundy in the city lord's mansion. Heavy Iron City's city lord, Yong Zhenan, woke up from his cultivation, and he looked out the window with a face full of astonishment. The voice of the goddess came suddenly and disappeared quickly. Yong Zhenan pondered for a moment and finally decided to summon the old butler to ask. There were really quite a lot of things that shocked him during this period of time. Originally, he was just sending his daughter to the imperial capital to meet her master. But he didn't want to come back to learn about the news of the relocation of the Li family. What shocked him even more was the fact that the Wang family, which had once shaken the city of Heavy Iron City, had died with the Lin family, as well as the news that Kang Chon and Wang Tixiong had left the city of Heavy Iron City. He didn't expect so many big events to happen only shortly after he left Heavy Iron City, and until now, he was still immersed in all the shock. Soon after, the old housekeeper arrived, and the two of them deliberated until dawn. This night was destined to be a sleepless night, and it was feared that no one in the entire Great Tang Kingdom would be able to sleep. Although Fengdu Mountain had been engulfed in darkness, the goddess's ethereal voice still came out and spread throughout the entire Great Tang Kingdom with an unrivaled force. People were incomparably shocked, and the news of the battle at Fengdu Mountain immediately traveled from Fengdu City to the four directions at an extremely fast speed. At this moment, in the skies above Fengdu Mountain, the Heavenly Dao Sect's giant ship stayed here. Inside the giant ship, the three of them, Heavenly Dao Sect's true disciple Ao Chon, King Zhenan, and Old City Lord Fengdu, were gathered together. Ao Chon looked at Old City Lord Fengdu and said, "Thanks to your help this time, I've already arranged your affairs. Now you go and get ready and return to the Heavenly Dao Sect with me tomorrow." Old City Lord Fengdu was instantly filled with excitement. He was somewhat incoherent as he said, "Many thanks, fellow Taoist. The kindness of a fellow Taoist is unforgettable." He expressed his gratitude and then left the giant ship. The old city lord was going to say goodbye to his children and grandchildren. After all, this trip to the Heavenly Dao Sect, there was no telling when he would return. On the side, the Zhenin king watched with some envy as the old city lord of Fengdu left, and then looked blearily at Ao Chon. Seeing this, Ao Chon regretfully shook his head and said, "I have also heard about your matter. Behind that person you offended stands a terrifying person. Even I don't dare to offend. And your dark disease is that you have been hit by the death blood poison, and you need the flower of death to be able to undo it." Death blood poison. Zhenin king was stunned at his words. Then his face was filled with grief and anger. No wonder he expelled me from the Heavenly Dao Sect by any means necessary. This flower of death only exists in the Heavenly Dao Secret Realm. The Heavenly Dao Secret Realm only opens up once every 30 years, and only the Yuaning Inner Sect disciples are allowed to enter it. And he devised the expulsion of me from the Heavenly Dao Sect in order to prevent me from obtaining the flower of death. The Zhenin king's heart was sad and angry. A wave of anger could not be vented. His qualifications were unrivaled. It was not impossible for him to become a true disciple. It was because he had offended one person that he had ended up in this situation. The Heavenly Dao Secret Realm only allows inner disciples to enter. There is nothing I can do. But your son's qualifications are good. In the future, he may have a chance to obtain the flower of death. Ao Chon said. King Zhenin shook his head. "I've already looked away. It doesn't matter even if I don't make another inch in this life. But Yuna was born with a thunder body. His qualification exceeds mine 100 times. I don't want him to follow my path in the future. I still ask you, Taoist friend, to accept my son as a disciple." Zhenin king said, and bowed his body towards Ao Chon. He made this move because he hoped that Lei Yun would have someone to take care of him in the future after he worshipped in the Heavenly Dao Sect. Or else, if his enemies found out, he might end up in his situation again. Words are heavy. Ao Chon reached out his hand to support him in vain, and King Zhenan instantly felt that his body would be difficult to bow down again. Don't worry, the old guys within the clan won't let a genius born with a thunder body be buried. I happen to know a holy son who cultivates thunder system techniques. When the time comes, I will introduce him on his behalf. Ao Chon said. To be honest, he was very moved. After all, A genius born with a lightning body as a disciple. No one would refuse. But he also knew that once a genius like this arrived in the sect, I'm afraid it wouldn't be his turn to teach him. Sun, Zhenin King shook at his words. Then his face was filled with gratitude. He naturally knew the status of the Holy Sun in the Heavenly Tao sect. It was definitely an existence that was second only to the Heavenly Tao sect master. Even the Heavenly Tao sect's elders had to bow when they saw the Holy Sun. In the Heavenly Tao sect, disciples were divided into 3 or 4 levels, with the lowest level being the outer disciple, followed by the inner disciple, and then the true disciple. And above the true disciples, there was also the level of Sun. The true disciples of the Heavenly Tao sect are all geniuses. Then the Holy Sons are even more geniuses of geniuses. Rumor has it that there are only a handful of Holy Sons of the Heavenly Tao sect, and every one of them is a supreme expert. The successive headmasters of the Heavenly Tao sect were generated from the Holy Sons. Therefore, the Sons possess supreme authority in the Heavenly Tao sect. It was because of this that King Zhenin was grateful after hearing that Kang Tian was going to introduce his son to the Holy Sun. He knew that once Lei Yun worshipped the Holy Sun as his teacher, then he would definitely have a great future. How you residents? Kang Tian returned to his small courtyard. Xiao Jin, who had already waited impatiently, immediately rushed up and teased with him. As early as the beginning, Kang Tian had guessed that this corpse-catching sect blood sacrifice ceremony was not simple, so he did not bring Little Gold along. As expected, the battle at Fengdu Mountain was very tragic, and it was fortunate that Little Gold wasn't there, or else he didn't know how much more trouble he would be in. All right, let me show you something good. Kang Tian pacified Xiao Jin and returned to the house, taking out the dragon pearl that he had obtained in Fengdu Mountain, and immediately a green glow illuminated the entire house. Little Gold's eyes instantly went straight, and he grasped the dragon pearl to death. At this time, Emperor Dan also came out from the reverse heavenly cauldron, and when he saw the dragon pearl in Kang Tian's hand, he was instantly surprised. Dragon pearl? When did you get a dragon pearl? Kang Tian sniffed and told Emperor Dan what had happened above Fengdu Mountain. Emperor Dan's face was filled with shock after hearing this. The corpse-catching sect has been in decline for so many years, but it still has this kind of heritage. It's really not to be underestimated. This time, the Heavenly Tao sect was obviously careless. That ancient powerhouse should be the dry drought if Lao Fu is not wrong. Do you still remember the source of the dry drought demon that old me told you about? Kang Tian couldn't help but think of the fire drought demon inside the blood coffin in that underground cave in the back of the royal palace, and then look at that blood coffin of the corpse-catching sect. Emperor Dan said with a grave expression on his face. From the 2 identical blood coffins, and the fact that you saw that ancient powerhouse in the corpse-catching sect, old me has already guessed what the corpse-catching sect is doing. Undoubtedly, that fire drought demon in the underground cave at the back of the royal palace was also the handiwork of the corpse-catching sect. And this ancient powerhouse is the dry drought demon, so it maintains the same appearance as it did in life. In this way, the corpse-catching sect has already gathered the dry drought demon, the fire drought demon, and now all that's missing is the dry drought demon. And once the 3 corpses are united, then this ancient powerhouse will be transformed into a corpse immortal, with a strength that's comparable to that of a true immortal, and will be absolutely invincible in the Flood continent. Emperor Dan said with an incomparably grave expression. Kang Tian was shocked at what he heard. Sure enough, that fire drought demon was also the work of the corpse-catching sect experts. And this was all for the purpose of creating corpse immortals. I wonder if they have already found the drought demon, Kang Tian thought Sen said. Emperor Dan shook his head and said, the drought demon is the reincarnated body of that ancient powerhouse. After millions of reincarnations, who still knows where the reincarnated body of that ancient powerhouse is? I'm afraid the corpse-catching faction can only rely on chance. Just for this bit of chance, the corpse-catching sect would do this. They wouldn't be that idiotic, right? Kang Tian doubted. The flood continent was incomparably huge, and there was no telling how many people there were. The sea of people was vast. Who could know where the reincarnated body of that ancient powerhouse was? The corpse-catching faction should have been prepared for it. Dan Huang said with a sniff. The corpse-catching sect has long been prepared. This blood sacrifice ceremony is to summon the remnant soul of that ancient powerhouse. We must know that this level of powerhouse has reached the point of immortality. Even if the physical body dies, there is still a trace of the remnant soul left in the heavens and the earth. As long as we summon back this trace of the remnant soul, it is possible to find her true reincarnated body, so that the three corpses will be united, and the drought demon will come out of the world. What a corpse-catching sect! They don't know how many years they have been carrying out this plan. No wonder they have been hidden from the world for so many years. It turns out that they are waiting for the right time. Kang Tian marveled. Kid, these have nothing to do with you. You'd better hurry up and take the Dragon Pearl. This Dragon Pearl should be able to raise your cultivation to the 9 revolutions realm, and then you'll be able to form the 9 revolutions Golden Dan.